Schenck versus the United States, 1919.
In 1917, the U.S. passed the Espionage Act. This act prohibited different forms of speech, especially speech that encouraged disloyalty to the United States.
Charles T. Schenck, the Secretary of the U.S. Socialist Party, opposed the military draft, so he distributed pamphlets that encouraged Americans to resist it. This violated the Espionage Act, so he was promptly arrested.
Why do you think Schenck was the target of the court?
Socialism was thought of as a threat to the American way of life. Schenck was associated with this party, so he was an easier target.
In 1919, Schenck's case was taken to the Supreme Court with Chief Justice Edward D. White overseeing the case.
Schenck's team argued that the Espionage Act and his arrest was unconstitutional because he was protected under the First Amendment, specifically under freedom of speech. What are the 5 aspects of the First Amendment?
Speech, religion, press, assembly, and petition.
Justice Oliver W. Holmes argued that the Espionage Act was actually constitutional since Schenck's speech was a threat to America. The U.S. was at war at the time, so freedom of speech could be limited if it meant to help keep the country safe.
The court came to a unanimous decision that Schenck should be jailed. They voted 9-0 in favor of the United States. Why do you think the court ruled in favor of the United States?
We believe that the court ruled against Schenck because socialism was tied to the Red Scare.
This case is important because it further defined the limits of the First Amendment. Speech could be restricted if it presented a clear and present danger to other citizens. This trial helped coin the saying, "You can't yell fire in a crowded theater." What are your thoughts on the government limiting what you can and cannot say?
I believe that the limitations on speech are helpful because it keeps people safe from the harmful words of others.
Nevertheless,
I believe that the limitation on speech is bad because people should have the ability to say what they believe.
To recap, Charles T. Schenck was put on trial in 1919 for handing out pamphlets that protested World War I. The court, under Chief Justice Edward D. White, ruled unanimously against Schenck. They stated that it was constitutional to limit speech if that speech was a clear and present danger to the American public.
The end!